Hi, everybody. Welcome once more to the Creative Process with Vince Ornato. Today we're going to turn the tables a little bit on Alan Levine, the talking machine, the producer of Pittsburgh Sportsline. I want to ask a non-artist what they think about art and how they react to it, and maybe you can identify with some of the things Alan brings to the table during our discussion.
The Creative Process with Vince Ornato. Vince is a professional Pittsburgh artist that works in many mediums. And now Vince is going to share his creative process with you.
Okay, Al, we're back here with Alan Levine, the producer of The Creative Process. And one of the things I wanted to do today, artists, musicians, and so on, playwrights, are always interested in what the audience is thinking, the non-artist, the non-creative person. And because we did this series together, I'd like you to kind of think back before we did some of this filming and the way you were looking at whether it doesn't have to be paintings, it could be music, it could be theater. If you think back where your head was with that as you are a creative person, but you're not a visual artist.
Thank you, Vince.
Playwright or whatever. Was there a progression as you watched all the shows in your mind about, I want to use the word appreciation. It sounds like I'm trying to compliment all of us creative people, but
I second that emotion.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, exactly. So how do you view the creative process now versus the way you did maybe a year ago when we started doing these shows?
Well, I've known you for about 5 years, and I appreciate the skills, the persistence that you have, the consistency that you have in your art, doing over 90,000 caricatures, doing your industrial paintings, and taking photos like I do for Jessica Lee's jazz events, and you critiquing certain things and seeing what other people did. You piqued my interest that I said, if I'm learning from you, like different hot colors, cold colors,
Right.
different backgrounds, different light, which a lot of it, I'm a simple man. I'm taking Facebook photos.
Yeah.
Click, snap. I got 21 megapixels on my Android.
Right.
Turbo Droid. I'm happy. I get more compliments.
Right.
But then I noticed certain things outside the box of normality. You would describe, were you thinking this? And I'd go, no, I was not.
Right.
Were you thinking that? No, I was not.
Okay.
I just had an eye for a pick and took it.
Right.
So some of it may be inherent, but you were bringing it out on what was actually into the photo, what my creative process was with it since we're talking the show.
Thinking more about it.
Right, and I thought, wouldn't it be great if Vince could impart the knowledge with you, and you, and
Right.
you, and
Right.
me.
Right.
And you have. Single line.
Right.
Sticks in my mind.
Right.
One
right.
single line
Right.
with your caricature.
Right.
That's one of the key things that I recall.
That's a good example. Now, when you were looking at caricatures before, were you? I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I'm just
You're
trying.
not going to, because I'll add them.
That's true. Were you just more or less watching the result? Well, I mean, part of your brain you're watching a guy do a caricature. Part of your brain had to be watching what he's doing or she's doing. Now you're a little more nuanced oriented, looking at the line itself, if you see something like
Well,
that.
what happened with caricatures is some people make fun of people while they're doing a caricature,
Right.
like it's something funny or something exaggerated. But I noticed with you, watching you do caricatures, that it's accurate. So I was impressed by that. So I watch you study, and you're doing all this in 3 minutes.
Yeah.
So I go, this guy's incredible. Not to blow some smoke, but I believe that.
Yeah.
So now what I've developed from watching the excitement of somebody putting like an exact copy in front of them,
Yeah.
and people saying, boy, that does look like me, or you got my boyfriend perfectly,
Yeah,
or my child looks great.
you're right.
Now I can say all those things, but I think of one line because that's what I learned it takes for you to do this.
So-
One black line.
Yeah, so you're going back now. You have a broader appreciation. It's
Completely.
probably yeah. Mark Strickland, when I'm the fantastic jazz guitar player, when
Legendary.
legendary. When I first met Mark and he saw a drawing I sketched in my sketchbook at the jazz gig, I just met him, and the first thing he said was, "Oh, you get the essence, right? That's what you're trying to do." And I said, "Exactly."
He was spot on.
He was spot on. That's exactly what you're trying to do. There's only so much you can do in a couple minutes, and if the person is good or knows what they're doing, it's more artistic than a long labored painting where somebody is just rendering, and they kind of come up with something, but their heart and soul really isn't inside of it. But there's a means to get to that, and what we're talking about here is the means, the single
Sure.
line or whatever.
And the process. That's hence the creative process. That's what you do from pen in hand to paper.
Yeah.
And I respect that. It's just amazing.
When Alan first talked to me about doing this show, I didn't want to do a how to paint or how to draw type of show. I wanted to do a show about the process of what artists do. Now, you're going to have to mention different things, different components, but
Of course.
it's really part of an ongoing process, lifestyle, whatever, to be a professional artist.
No
Yeah.
doubt. And you've perfected this, and you're improving at all times over 30-plus years.
Right,
Which
right.
to me is amazing, the consistency that you have.
The funny thing about it, and I mean this when I say it, I'm looking forward to the next 30 years, and I really mean that. I'm setting myself up in my mind that I'm going to be doing this. Whether I make it or not, I don't know. God only knows, but I am approaching
I got
it like
faith
that.
in you. 30 more years of this.
Well, we're going to be doing this show for 30 more years, folks, so
There you go, fans and friends.
get some popcorn.
You heard it right now. 30 more.
Exactly.
And thank you for having me back on the show.
Yeah, exactly.
And I appreciate that. And I appreciate the view. Look
Right.
at this view.
Right.
I have to remark about it because the rain stopped for a little window,
Okay.
and we took advantage of that.
And we did. This is, by the way, this is the this deck here is off my studio in Deutschtown in Northside, my third floor studio, which we'll have a few shots of for the
What
show.
a backdoor view of the city.
Oh yeah,
Look at this.
Talking about the process. I'm spoiled. You get laboring in the studio, and you need a break or whatever. I can just walk out here and clear my head and turn
10,
around.
15 minutes of that, you're rejuvenated.
Exactly.
How could you not be?
Exactly. I used to watch when I first moved here. I used to at night. I was new to having a laptop and all, and I could watch DVDs at night, movies to
Right
clear
here.
my head right out here on the deck. I still can, obviously.
There's a nice little breeze that I feel. It feels great.
Let me ask you a question, Al. Like these different components that I maybe went through with the show, when you look, composition, cool colors, darks and lights and things. When you're watching a movie now or something, you're obviously watching the story. Do you find yourself catching things like that?
Because
and
of
film and
you,
all?
I do catch that a little bit. Not to put words in my mouth, but yes, I do.
Yeah, and it does kind of come at you in a way that it hadn't before.
Yes.
It's funny sometimes. I'll go to movies with a few people, and one of them is a photographer. Say Archie Carpenter, a very good full-time professional photographer.
You must do an interview with Archie Carpenter. I was going to bring it up after the show, but you brought it up now. There must be a show with Archie Carpenter in it. He's one of the best.
We'll see about that, but that's not a bad idea. But it's funny, we'll go out to eat after, and the other friends aren't in creative field.
Sure.
So we'll sit down, and I'll say something about, how about the way they composed that shot at night when they were on such and such a thing? And Archie will respond and say, yeah. And then I'll say, that was really cool. And then I'll ask him something about photography related to that. And then we look at our friends, and
Are they glazed over?
their eyes are glazed over, and they don't know what we're talking about, or did we even see the same movie. But the thing about it, they think we're overanalyzing sometimes. They think we're analyzing too much. What they don't understand, we see it at a glance, and you have a fuller, richer experience because your knowledge is just broader. It's like a musician when he or she hears music.
No, that's a great point, because what I consider it, like I thought some of the things you were over analyzing, but it's actually your enjoyment of the process.
Bingo.
And that's why I would back off, because I'll say different things
Yeah,
at certain
yeah,
times.
yeah.
But I would just let that go, because you described 5 or 6 things, and that was in a glance.
Right, right.
Now me, I'm looking at it, I didn't see any of that.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm like, what's he talking about? So I wipe the glaze off,
Right.
put it in my brain, and I'm thankful that you do this.
Well, that one of the things that happens in classrooms, unfortunately, it has to be done this way. You have to slow things way, way down. When these concepts are brand new to people,
Sure.
and let's just say it was a film class, and you run a film, you got to stop it to explain to the class that these things we're seeing at a glance.
But see, that makes sense.
Exactly.
You have to describe that.
Yeah. My golf pro buddy, Bob Montello, one of the problems golf instructors have, in order to teach the golf swing, they have to break it down. And it's like slow, slow, slow. That's not what really happens when you hit the ball. It happens
Exactly.
like
In an
that.
instant.
Yeah. So I know what you're doing on jazz gigs or wherever you're taking photographs. I'm always aware that even though I'll throw some of those things out, you're doing it right now. And we're not in a classroom.
Exactly.
That you're doing it on the fly, on the run.
And I'm trying to present the joy and the fun of the music
Yeah.
at the show, and I get more compliments that I'm showing it's a fun time.
Yeah, yeah. I would like you to compose the green tea a little more artistically, but that's another.
Well,
we want some different, interesting
I was going to
shots,
bring my cup here to post it on your deck.
That's
but I
right.
forgot the cup this morning, because I've had my 4 cups of green tea so far.
That's what we should have did. Brought some green
That
tea here.
would have been perfectly show the panoramic city behind us.
That's right. Right.
No, but I do post that every day, and thank you to my fans on the Green Tea Report.
Right. Right.
It
Right.
comes out each day, and we predicted AM showers.
Okay. Okay.
So we had that. Now we have that break to continue.
Well, let me ask you this now: when you think of artwork now or music or whatever, you're probably much more aware. And it's not just me; it's just being around town and seeing different jazz musicians, musicians of all type. Are you much more aware of what's behind what led up to? Someone might do a 4-minute song, but now you're more aware of what was the build up to.
How could I not be?
Yeah.
Listen to Vince. He's describing 20 things in about 3 or 4 seconds. Now I noticed 2 or 3 of those.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Al, it's funny to me. This is one of the reasons I hit it off with musicians right away. Aside from being an artist, I'm stunned at how many people claim they like music and never listen to the lyrics.
Right, right. I've been a lyrics man my whole life, so
Yeah,
I appreciate that for sure.
yeah, and I think the era we came up in, you just did because when we're kids, our parents, if there's music in the house, they were definitely lyric oriented.
Sure.
And our brains just work that way. And again, it's a deeper, broader thing. I mean, it is the song.
Sure,
And-
that's what it's about.
Yeah, and the other stuff is the form that it's taken to get that song across. Sinatra always said, if you're a really good singer, people forget about the singer and think of the song.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that's a good singer.
What a quote from Frank.
Yeah, exactly. So this whole idea of a creativity, this aspect that it comes from nowhere, so to speak. You're starting with a blank canvas,
Sure.
or you're starting with
It's all fresh.
it's all fresh. It just seems to come out of nowhere. As you look at artwork now or listen to music or whatever, do you think of it as an individual doing it now, maybe more than you had before? It's like someone's fingerprint is what
Well,
I'm getting at.
To be honest with you, I thought about this before
Yeah,
and practiced
Good.
it and was complimentary to people like yourself and others.
Yeah.
Because you're creating something out of nothing, I would say.
good. Yeah,
And that's what I've been quoted this for a long, long time, that's how I would describe things. So you've helped me to focus more on the nothingness that's appearing in front of us,
yeah,
because you're looking at it and putting it to paper, one line.
yeah.
So, I mean, that's impressive to me.
Yeah. It's funny about that. I early on with my career, I was kind of stunned to find out how blue collar drawing and painting is. And I was an iron worker for a number of years. I know.
Nice T-shirt too.
Yeah, local 3 iron worker. My cousin got me this shirt recently.
Thanks to him.
It's been a while. I mean, I know what hard work is. But the idea with paint, I'm making something that didn't exist.
Yes.
You know, that hit me between the eyes. I mean, I was doing it and didn't think of it that way. It didn't exist. I'm actually making something.
Sure.
Songwriters, they're making something. We've talked about, you know, these higher level musicians that never even played together.
Sure.
And they mumble to each other a little bit, and then they start some song, and it's the first time they're playing it.
As an
you know.
example, we're watching Jessica Lee, Mark Strickland, and Emmy Award-winning Eric Lawrence play a song note for note, singing the vocals perfectly. And I went over to Vince. The amazing part is they've never practiced.
They've never rehearsed what they just did. You know, they're that good.
And it just meshed together, hence your photos, your industrial photos,
Right.
your paintings that you do and things that you put together, and your things from Italy, your photos from Italy, and paintings also.
I'm a longtime friend with Ray Marsh. He was a viola player in the Pittsburgh Symphony. I want to say 39 years. It might have been 49.
Wow.
He's the nicest guy in the room. That's Ray's. He really, really is. He grew up in the Poconos and all. But he told me sometime they call them jobbers. And when a rock band comes in, like Rod Stewart or something years ago, they may need 4-string musicians for 2 songs.
Sure.
Well, Ray told me he would get called for this, and they'd go down to the arena. Let's say they're supposed to, the concert's already on, and they're supposed to come on and do this at 9 p.m.
Yeah.
He said he'd look at the music. The very first time they play it is on stage.
Wow.
That's how good those folks are at their craft.
No, I respect that. It's amazing to me.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, just the ear and the sight.
At least, I said, Ray, you 4 don't even play through it one time? He said, no, we don't have. We look at it, we read it like you're reading a book,
Sure.
and then they get on stage.
They do it.
And then they play it. Now, isn't that amazing?
That is amazing.
Yeah. Now, flip that all the way around. Paul McCartney, and the Beatles didn't read music, and Paul McCartney later on, he said he was afraid to learn because whatever he was doing,
He might lose it.
He might lose, you know, whatever way he's processing music, you know.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It's very interesting, and it shows. But the funny thing about it, the elements. I was just talking to someone the other night about like these rules, we'll call them. You know, like if you watch our series, the way I talk about drawing, the way I talk
Sure.
about painting. Once you understand these things, now you can break them. You know, now you can go way outside the box and do something, and it's kind of like, you know, it's like a mutation.
Sure.
But there's people that think, oh, just because they're an artist, they can do whatever they want, and that's artistic license. That's not artistic license.
Right.
You know, and all that kind of thing. So
Thanks for explaining that.
yeah, exactly, exactly. There's a lot more to it. Now, when you're you know, when you're doing your show, when you're doing, you know, obviously you can't be thinking about art all the time, music all the time. But, you know, I'll pull up to a red light and then just something catches my eye. I'm thinking, wow, that'll make a great painting. As far as ideas and things like that, how does your brain work with this type of thing? And
It just pops right up.
yeah.
It just comes out of nowhere, and I'm truly blessed by that.
Yeah, like something like me doing this show.
Yes.
It just kind of occurs to
It
you.
came to me that Vince has given me all this information. Why not give it to others?
Yeah.
And thanks to you for watching.
Yeah, exactly. And we have a great director, Dave Cable, and his interns and everybody that helps.
They're
along the way.
fantastic. Look how they're making us look today with the panoramic view of the city.
Well, the other thing, it's funny, people, you know, I'm often asked about, you know, getting bored or what have you.
How can you?
How can you? Exactly. The more you learn, the more you dive in, the deeper you go, the more effort you put into it, you learn more, and it becomes even more interesting than it was before.
On that point, we both have open minds, so we don't close our minds to the knowledge that we have, and we're always trying to learn something else or to do better, like you try,
Right.
like I do, to do a better show, to have a better interview,
Right.
to just do those things. It's always to improve.
You know, that's interesting. I'm so used to it, I don't think about it. But I do have an open mind.
Sure.
I'm looking.
Well, you're inquisitive.
I'm inquisitive. My eye is naturally inquisitive too.
Sure.
Always looking. This kind of gets back to the lyric thing. Like I'm stunned at people who don't listen to lyrics.
Sure.
This kind of deal.
And they're amazed when you tell them what the lyrics are.
Oh yeah, many times I've talked. You say something like, the shadow of your smile when you were gone.
Anything like that.
Yeah, it heighten. What is it? It heightens all my dreams and lights the dawn. When you say these words to people, they heard the song 1,000 times and say,
They
"I
didn't know
like
what it
that."
was.
They didn't have it. They didn't. I don't know how a person can do that.
We've shared this
you know?
a few times. We're friends. We've talked about this, and I'm glad we can present it on our show again to you.
Well, I was on local TV, and I'm embarrassed. She's a known TV personality. Darn it, the name's escaping me. You folks would know her, but she had said to me, how do you stay inspired and so on? And I just looked at her. I said, that's another question I get a lot. I don't know. Italian Americans tend to be passionate people anyway. I don't know the art, whatever. But it's just sort of like, how can you live?
Right.
How can you be walking around breathing and not have inspiration from this life, even in the blue moments, even in the deep moments you're experiencing
that's
life?
interesting. It just describes you perfectly.
Yeah.
Because you do these things in the moment because you're inquisitive. You got an eye for it.
Yeah.
And you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, I could look at the same thing and not know what to do.
Yeah. Now, different things will motivate different people. Another friend, Janae Solomon, she's a musician, and she had said, she commented, she thinks a lot of this stuff is in everybody. I do too, but it's dormant.
Sure.
Now we're not saying everybody could practice and play great piano. It's not what we're saying. But these different aspects that art seems to touch on and then becomes developed, Janae said, it's dormant, and I like that word. I think that's what it is.
That's a good choice. And we're winding this show down. We only got about 2 minutes to go. So what else do you want to ask me? I hope I've done well.
I'm just the whole curiosity about. Well, let's see. Now this is another problem. People that aren't artists.
And I'm not.
No, right. The problem. Another thing I say, they do have these experiences when listening to music, when looking at paintings, sculptures. They don't have the vocabulary that
Good point.
Yeah, that's a limitation of language, and I learned that from a great writer friend of mine, a novelist. That one of the dilemmas the non-artist has, they have the experience, and that's home run.
Sure.
They don't talk about this all the time. They don't teach it. So sometimes it's just a limitation of language. Would you agree with that?
Can't argue with that because I'm a wordsmith myself. So
Yeah,
definitely.
Because every field has its jargon.
Sure.
The medical, the doctors. I always tell people when I'm talking to another artist about my painting, I use a completely different set of words. I use the example of the movies, like Archie Carpenter or me, another photographer.
Sure.
Afterward, we start just naturally talking in this kind of language, and our friends don't know what we're saying. I'm exaggerating a little bit to make
Slightly.
a point. Yeah. So that's often an issue, and I have that trouble with when I'm doing, say, a commission for an art director or something. I don't do so much of that anymore. They're used to this kind of thing, and they have a lot of the jargon.
Sure.
But just somebody called me the other day, and she's having trouble expressing what she
Sure.
wants
You got to
because
fill in the blanks for her.
yeah, and it gets to be a very tricky thing, especially if they need a little bit, a little bit more listening ability. Let's put it that
Sure.
way.
Sure. Well, they have their vision, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Describing it's the problem, and you have to work through that.
Yeah, and that's always a bit of a struggle with this kind of thing. Well, I hope we progressed forward a little bit more with the understanding of the creative process and all. I enjoyed it. It's always important to me to hear what non-artists are thinking about what we do and so on. Anything else you'd like to add?
Thank you for having me on. This was unscripted as normal. That's how I operate. So hopefully I did well in answering your questions.
Yeah, maybe the next time we'll have some green tea in between us. Even
Be
though
right
I don't
here.
drink it, but
I could sip it. I could sip it in between conversations.
yeah. Thanks, Al. Thanks for coming.
Thank
over.
you, Vince, and continued success with the creative process.
You too. Thank you. I'd like to thank Alan Levine for being on the show today, and I hope, like Alan, you learned some things about the creative process that you didn't know before we did this series. In the future, we're going to have some more episodes about art, painting, music, theater, and a lot of other things involved in the creation of art. Thanks for watching.
Angle yourself, go ahead. Angle yourself a little more like this.
Yeah,
Still in the shot, good.
Wow.
yeah, that's what I'm getting at. That I don't.
So-
Oh God!
Still got quick
They must have-
reflexes, baby.
All right.
Only got one drop on me.
Damn, I wanted that on camera.
We have that.
We
on
do
camera.
have one.
I started rolling a while ago.
Bloopers.
It's like Forrest Gump says, it happens.
It happens.